Welcome back to my channel. This is Teresa's Crafty Cabana, and I wanted to show you how I use some of my Gelli prints. I'm a card maker, so pretty much all of my Gelli prints I have a card making inspiration to use. And for this particular card, I'm going to actually end up making two cards, but I have this leaf cut out that I had done from a prior project, and it was just a Gelli print, and I cut out all those leaves, and now I have the leftover of it, and I thought it would be cool to see what it looked like next to some of those prints underneath it. So I just picked out a few backgrounds that I had done to see which ones I would like the most to put behind this leaf print. I liked these purples a lot. I wasn't really sure which one until I kind of went through them a couple of times, but I landed on this purple because it was so bright and vivid. I will have the supplies that I used at the end of the video, and they're all linked at the below this video as well. So to start, I cut that purple and the leaf shape not exactly in half, but I did cut it to kind of maintain some of the leaf shape. So one side ended up being just a little bit bigger than another side, and I only had to cut in half one leaf to do that. Now I'm just going to glue it down flat to the purple, and that purple has a really cool print. I used a texture plate for polymer clay, and I'm gluing down these little pieces. They didn't glue down, and I wanted to make sure they weren't gonna fly up, so I'm just making sure all these little tiny edges are secured. And now I've got my background ready. I wanted to layer this on top of an embossed mat before I put it onto the card, so I'm going to be using this embossing folder, and it's got these pretty leaf shapes and mostly kind of has a fall vibe to me. So I wanted to dress up this embossing just a little bit. So what I did is I took some gold acrylic paint, some metallic paint, and my brayer. I just put some gold on my brayer, and I'm just brayering that over the top just to catch those raised areas. You could also just paint it on or brush it on, but I was trying to get just the raised areas, and I think a brayer does a pretty good job of doing that. I ended up doing this twice because I'm doing two cards. So for all these steps, I'm kind of doing them twice. So here I cut out a pumpkin shape just from white Nina white cardstock, 110 pound, and I'm using some combination of Copic and Prismacolor, but they're both alcohol ink markers in gray colors, gray tones that I had, and I'm just gonna color these in almost to look like ghost pumpkins. And then the grays, as I'm layering them up, I'm kind of using those to create the shadows and the ridges. This dark gray was really dark, and I wasn't expecting it to be quite as dark, so I only went up about halfway from the top and halfway from the bottom, and then I used that medium gray to blend those darker lines together. And I thought that made it actually look a little more 3D anyway. I wanted to dress up the stem of the pumpkin, so I'm just using my finger and dabbing it in some of that gold paint, and just rubbing it around the edge of the pumpkin as well. And now I'm going to stamp happy birthday on there. I'm using these Dollar Tree stamps. I'm just picking out my two stamps that I thought looked good and actually fit on this pumpkin. I'm going to use tape. I tried using the little magnets, but they were too big and the stamps actually didn't stamp through. So I don't know if anyone else has that problem with the magnets, but I have a better result when I use the washi tape to hold my piece down. I'm just going to speed this up, but this is my same coloring technique for a small short pumpkin that I'm going to put with a different stamp on top of this one. But I'm starting with that light gray, outlining it with the medium gray, and then I'll add the dark gray lines just like I did on the big one. I'm going to do the same thing and add the gold to this stem and gold all the way around it using my finger again. For this stamp, I'm using Hampton Arts, and this is a birthday stamp set. I'm using this circle Make-A-Wish. It happened to fit just perfectly on this little pumpkin. I didn't want to do the dark black color on this one since the happy birthday was dark black, so I'm using this watering can color archival ink. It's a pretty gray. I stamped it a couple of times, and that gave it just the right amount of depth, but it was still not as dark as the black. Now I'm going to just glue together the pieces for my second card base. And this, I'm doing the same thing where I'm gluing down the purple to those leaves. I did a little bit of a better job gluing down the little pieces on this one, so I didn't have to go back in and glue those little spots. So I started by having these card bases, and I put the stamping inside this card base, but I did do some heat embossing. So in the end, I ended up cutting these pieces out, and I folded another set of cards, and I put these pieces glued it inside another card base. But if you're going to do this and not use the heat embossing, then it would have worked out just fine. But I really wanted to do some gold with these stars and the candles. So I'm just going to be starting out by putting on some Versamark ink. And for this first stamped impression, I didn't get the best ink on there. But you never really know with Versamark until you put your embossing powders down. In this case, I'm using this gold. As I was flicking away the extra gold embossing powder, I noticed that all of my little candles were not sticking with the embossing powder, so I just did I heat embossed it, and I just put it back in to my stamp platform, and I just did another round of stamping and embossing. It didn't work out perfect because after you heat this and heat set it, it warps the paper. So even if you put it back in the same spot, for me anyway, it didn't work out perfectly, but it was close enough that I wasn't concerned about it. Now I'm taking this embossing pen, and I'm just going to go through and color in all of these candlesticks, and I'm going to use a pearl embossing powder to fill those in. And then I heat set that, and they look like pretty silver and gold. thought they turned out nice. I did the same thing just real quick here with the second card base, and this one embossed a lot better for the first round. And then I did the same with the pearl for the candlesticks. Then for each of these, I had cut them down already, and I'm going to be adding just a little sentiment on the top part. For this one, I'm going to use this orange blossom archival ink. I did the same thing to the other one, I just used a different sentiment. I used my Prismacolor alcohol ink markers to color in the flames with yellow. And then to give it a little more dimension, I used a orange yellow to just add a little kind of dot at the base for the layered flame look. Now I want to assemble my cards. I'm just going to start by gluing the inside piece. This actually did help make the card feel a lot more stable by having glued a piece on the inside and glued a piece the exterior part. So it turned out that I liked how this came together. And now to put the layers onto the front, I'm just going to start by gluing down the embossed piece with the gold. I did want the leaf piece to pop up a little bit, so I'm going to use some pop-up squares for both the leaf pieces and for the big pumpkin on both of the cards. So now that's finished for the first card, and then I just have to add the top part for the second card, and that finishes out my cards. I put a nice little stamp on the back. This is going to be, these are 2 cards that I'm giving to my friends, so I have a little friendship message on the back. If you're new to my channel and you're enjoying this content, please like this video and subscribe if you haven't. I make different kinds of jelly print videos, card making videos, alcohol ink, and pretty much whatever crafting thing. So I welcome you to join this community of wonderful crafters. We have so many wonderful people that tune in, and I thank you all for your wonderful comments and questions. I am still getting to know this YouTube journey, so bear with me, and certainly ask if you have any questions, and I will do my best to either supply links or at least let you know what kind of supplies I found and where. And now I've got two a little bit different cards, only because the front is just a little bit different in the coloring, but they're also very similar. Definitely not identical, but I loved how these turned out. They feel very nice with the embossing in the inside, and I really liked how those pumpkins turned out. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do an orange in the beginning, but I'm really glad I went with the gray color for the ghost pumpkin look, and then the gold on it kind of ties it together with the background. So I hope you enjoyed this card video of how I'm using my Gelli prints, and hopefully it inspires you to use your Gelli prints, whether you're a card maker or a journalist. Now I do have my supplies listed next, so if you're interested to know what supplies I've used, you can stick around for that. If not, that's the end of my video, and thank you for watching. So for the supplies, I did use these Prismacolor markers. These are the alcohol markers for a gray, my C50% for this one. Then I had 3 Copic markers that I used, and this one was the BV23. That's my medium darker gray. This is my medium gray, the C2, and then I had a kind of like a warm gray, and this was the W0. I also used these die cuts. These are from Amazon. I'll link these. These are all the things that I have links to, I'll put below. Some of the things that I have, I don't have links to because I've had them in my stash for a little bit. So these are just the 2 pumpkin shapes that I used. Now inside this little set, it comes with these other layers that you can put on top of your pumpkins, and I did not use those for this because I wanted to do that stamping. I used these 2 colors of yellow for the flames. This was the canary yellow, and I used this Spanish orange. Again, those were the Prismacolor Premier. Now I did use this stamp platform from Tim Holtz. My archival inks were the watering can and the orange blossom. I used some VersaFine Onyx black ink, and then my Versamark. I also used this pen, the Distress pen. It's just an embossing pen. I used these embossing powders from Recollection. These are from Michaels, Pearl, and Detail Gold. This is from Joanne. This is Park Lane. That's one of their brands that they sell. And this is just the leafy embossing folder. Then I have these Spellbinder leaves that I used to... I didn't show how I cut these in this particular video, but these are the leaves that I had cut out prior. This is a Hampton Art stamp set. I used the friendship, the little friendship saying in this one. These Hampton Art ones don't really say what the title of their stamps are. I couldn't find a title to this, but this is the stamp set that the stamp that I used. And then this is another Hampton Art one, again with no name on it. Doesn't really advertise what it's called, but I use this little Make-A-Wish from this set. Looks like a happy birthday set. I got these from Hobby Lobby. At the bottom it does have a number. That might be the only way to identify it. And then I use these Spellbinder little phrases for the inside of the card, and I used the candlesticks and the stars. The orange archival ink did stain those Spellbinder stamps. Here are some Dollar Tree stamps that I picked up. These are new. I used these 4 happy birthday stamps from this set. And then this is just to show you what that piece of paper that had the leaves cut out of it, what it looked like before those leaves were cut out. So I just went in and layered them up to create different leaves, and I did not use those leaves in this particular video. I have the 6-inch brayer here and my gold metallic golden touch paint from Folk Art. And then I used my favorite glue. This is my favorite tacky glue, Eileen's. I like this one with the flat top because it sits upside down. And last but not least, I used this Nina white cardstock, 110 pound. This is my favorite white cardstock. That's what I used for the base and all of my pieces. All of the paper was used with that cardstock.